Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. One of the first interviews here in January on our channel, and we're very, very, very happy, or at least I am very, very, very happy to have some guys here on the show who play in a band that I really like, who have got an incredible new album out since a few weeks by now. And so without further ado, very happy to have two guys here from Shipwreck Karpathos. So welcome on the show, guys. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Just quickly, for all those, especially European guys, I don't know why you're not as big as you should be over here in Europe, but maybe you can just shortly say who you are and what you do in the band, apart from looking handsome, as always.
Oh, thank you. I'm David Chastain. I started the band like a decade ago, and it's gone through a bunch of changes. And I'm at this point, I think the only original member. Oh no, Nick, I guess. Yeah. But I play guitar. I do a majority of the songwriting. I don't know what else. That's it. Yeah.
You make audiences uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, myself too.
Role.
Yeah, that's just being socially weird is my biggest role in the band. So thank you, Hank. Your turn. You go.
My name is Hank Wooten. I play piano for the most part, and whenever they need a ninth guitar part, I jump in on that too. I don't do any of the writing. I just make my own parts, and if he approves, then we continue with that.
It's not true. He does a lot of writing.
Of course, I take Hank's note and jump right in. I'm like, David, when you say you're the only remaining member from the founding group, so to speak, do you consider Shipwreck Karpathos your band, or is it a democratic process?
I think that everybody in the band considers it my band, but I don't. I'm like the one person in the band that like doesn't want to think of it that way, because I've tried to do it on my own and it's not as good when I do it on my own. We put out our first record in 2016, and like right off of the back of that, I moved out to Oregon and tried to get it back together with like new members. I tried to do it, and like it doesn't work. Like this project doesn't exist. It does not do what it's supposed to do unless it's this group of people. So I think it's everybody collectively. And he says that he doesn't write, but like I bring in like the structure, just like a loose arrangement that I want. And then these guys all just kind of shape what I do. I can barely play guitar.
Yeah, that's what we always say.
I stumble through stuff, and then I bring everybody else in, and then they turn it into a song. So,
when I prepared for this interview, there was one thing that came to my mind, and I don't know if I'm correct on that, but I think you guys must have a certain love for language and storytelling. Is that just my notion, or is that really the case?
I love world building and I love storytelling, but I'm terrible with words, which, there's a reason we're an instrumental band. All of the, I don't even know where to start with it. It's kind of a big question. So there's a photograph that I don't know if you're familiar with Steve McCurry. Did a lot of like National Geographic. So the Afghan girl National Geographic photo.
I think I did.
The girl with like the bright green eyes, and
yeah,
we got a bunch of iconic photos in Nat Geo, and there's a book of photography in a record store where we started that had a bunch of his stuff in it, and there's this picture of the shipbreaking yards. And long story short, like that's where the band name came from. And then as I was writing, there's all like the real meanings of all of these songs, but like the allegory and like the world building for like the purpose of storytelling kind of built out of this picture. So from like this one picture of just this guy standing in front of these giant boats, we built all the story out from there. And every song, every like piece of the project, honestly, is like we're constantly making nods to all of the different things that inspired it. And it's not always music. It's comic books, it's movies, it's I like stories. and it's hard to get stories across in an instrumental project. So we're always just looking for ways like that. But like, I guess the short answer to your question would be yes, storytelling, world building. I love it. Robbie, who's not here, is super into it, and he's taken on a big role in it too. And I'm
something that
this guy
struck me when I tried to figure out how to pronounce your name. My first notion was it must be a portmanteau. It must be something like a mixture of Carpathian and Paphos or whatever, you know. But then I discovered that there is a Greek island called Karpathos. Is that where you took the name from?
So it's not. So the picture that I was talking about, so it's these shipbreaking yards in India. They beach these giant ships, and then just these small teams of people going and just, you know, ripping down to pieces to kind of carry it. And in the photo, one of the big boats that is beached is called Karpathos. So that's yeah. I also didn't know that there was an island that is also famous for having a lot of shipwrecks.
Who pointed that out to us? It was an article.
No. So what it was some guy from Greece.
Okay.
Who was looking up something about the shipwreck and stumbled upon us. And like, and the funniest thing about it is it's actually pronounced with a soft A. And I didn't know that because I had only ever seen it written out. And so we actually pronounced the name wrong. And by the time it was brought to my attention that we had pronounced it wrong, we were so far in that I was just like, it's fine. We pronounced it wrong. I'm not going to change it. So like,
yeah, I like that. You know, that again shows a little bit, you know, how global our scene has become, right? That is something really cool. However, your storytelling that you are now already in the second part of the trilogy revolves around two figures called the pilot and Virgil. And they're both on the covers of the last full length and on this one. So first question must, of course, be who of them is the robot and who is the human? Or at least it looks like one of them is the robot because we only see the figures from behind. So I figure one is, it looks like a robot and the other like a human. So who is who?
So the human is the pilot, and he is. I
was right about that.
He's the main protagonist of the story, and Virgil is a robot, and he's his little sidekick companion guy.
So Virgil is the pilot's Dr. Watson.
Essentially, yeah. I've always thought of him as kind of like his Alfred.
Yep.
His Batman, but same thing. Yep. Yeah.
Same thing.
Honestly, the Watson might make more sense though. That's good, and I don't know why I've not thought of that before.
Yeah, if Watson was like 10 million years old.
Yeah.
But Watson is also, when it comes to literature, a very interesting figure because, you know, normally we try to differentiate between first-person narrator and third-person narrator, and with the initial Sherlock Holmes books are basically both, because first and foremost they're told from a first-person perspective, Watson, but he adopts Holmes' point of view, so it's a mixture of both.
I've read the first book. It was back in like 2017-ish, and I don't remember it that well, honestly. I remember liking it a lot, but I'm trying to picture
anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
Virgil, named after the late antiquity Roman author?
Yes and no. So, the very first band that I was in when I was a kid, I was like 15, 16, and it was with Ian Duvall, who was a founding member of Shipwreck too. He was actually on this record also. But the first band that we were in when we were kids was called Virgil. And it was partially that, but it was it was a little bit tongue in cheek. It was and because like you say that, like that's what everybody's going to think that it is, but what it really was is there was a cartoon in the 90s called Mighty Max, I don't know if you remember that. Do you remember Polly Pocket, the little
I think I even remember Mighty Max, but
yeah. So Mighty Max was this kid who had a magical baseball hat that would
yeah,
let him jump between dimensions, and he had his guide, who was also named Virgil, but that Virgil was an elderly fowl. And I loved the show when I was a kid, and I really just like I knew everybody was always going to ask if it was, that Virgil, and then I would always just joke that it was Mighty Max. But then I always I like the name, and it stuck with me, and for what the character is, and it was like I said, everything's always a nod to something else, whether it's a project that I was in or something that influenced it.
which is cool. I like digging for stuff like that, so that's always awesome to know. Before I come to the story of the pilot and Virgil, I have a question which interests me because I think I consider it more often than not. A lot of post-rock records of the last 2, 3, 4 years are less a collection of songs and more often than not, in my perception, songs that are all connected to a certain concept. Do you think that such a concept is important for especially instrumental post-rock? Is it important to have a concept that you give to the people? No matter if it's
I think
a real life thing or a story that you made up.
Yeah, I think so, and not even just for post rock. I mean, I think that this is like my biggest like old man screams at cloud argument, that like I feel like streaming has kind of like forced people to like not have as much of an attention span for music, and I think that's why singles are like so prevalent. And not to say there's anything wrong with that, but like I feel like you ask the average person, they probably don't sit down and listen to like a full record front if they're going to make a playlist, which is like, again, nothing wrong with that. But I've always tried to think of Shipwreck in general, like, and like not even just this record, but like collectively as like one body of work, like one giant piece with like multiple movements that go through. And the shape of that obviously changes as we evolve as musicians. But to me, like that in and of itself is a story that like you can listen to throughout. Which is why we put the scene subtitles on all the songs for this record.
Yeah.
We did it on the first one too, but we only did it on the physical copy. We did just like the a few hundred CDs, and so up until very recently, if you didn't have a copy of like that CD, you never really saw any of that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to like very intentionally add it back on to give people kind of like a roadmap if they are interested, in both like the narrative of the music and just like the evolution of the music. And the next thing that we're actually doing tentatively is we're working on doing a remix and a remaster of the first record and adding this guy to it. He recorded the first record. But he wasn't in the band at the time. And there's piano on one track, and it was me, but I can't play piano. So I literally I played it's so stupid.
I remember this.
We did 2 tracks. I played this really simple melody with one hand, and then we did a second track where I played the chords, which typically a piano player would do both, right? But I couldn't fucking do it. And so we recorded these 2 tracks and then put them together as one track. But we're going to add him to the whole thing, and he's going to fix that too. And then, so we're going to do a remix and remaster of the first record, get that out eventually, some way. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with it yet, but the digital version of it, whatever we do, is going to have all the subtitles put back on to have like that official roadmap put back into it.
It's also a way that I think there are these scene numbers on Bandcamp. They're not on Spotify, but they're on Bandcamp. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can find the numbers on Bandcamp as well. And now let's have a look at Virgil and the pilot. Can you tell us a little bit about their story arc? What are they doing?
Yeah, so it's they live in this world that has experienced some kind of cataclysm. I say some kind because I know what it is, but we haven't gotten there in the story yet. But it's basically it kickstarted like the early death of the world, and it is in recent enough history that like the remaining population of the human race knows that something happened, but they don't really know what, but it was, you know, far enough back that like they've lost most knowledge about like what that world was. And so they live in this city, Circle City. It's basically like the last like human holdout in the world, and they're doing okay. The city is thriving. It's just outside of the city, what we call the foregone, is dying or dead, basically. And so the pilot and Virgil go out on these expeditions into this world, just to see what they can find from the old world to bring back to study it, to kind of hopefully figure out what it was that happened, put the pieces together, and see if they can, you know, kickstart the earth again and kickstart civilization again. So the first record, Bring Down the Sky, is basically them coming back from one of these expeditions. They get home and their entire city is destroyed. Everybody's dead. They're all that's left. And he kind of goes through the city, puts together the pieces of what happened, and it's this army of robots that was never intended to be an army that lives on this island in the sky. It was the simulacra. They're mentioned throughout like the titles. They're basically assembled by the pilot and like his crew of people from pieces of just things that they found out in this world, and held some knowledge. I'm trying to like tell this story and keep it as vague as I can, because I don't want to spoil too much, because we have plans for it. But basically they're kind of familiar with what did happen in the past. Him and Virgil still have no idea. Virgil's connected to it, but Virgil isn't even aware of that fact at this point. And this whole second record, Being Human, is all about basically them kind of unraveling that mystery, figuring out, putting the pieces, figuring out like how Virgil is connected to the past, really getting an understanding of what happened, and how to move forward from the revelations that happened throughout the record.
What strikes me is that you display a lot of pop cultural knowledge throughout. I mean, like when we talk about Cycle City, one of the first things that come to my mind is the divergent cities. When we talk about A City in the Sky, of course, every Star Wars nerd will automatically think of The Empire Strikes Back and all the things that we see there. I mean, like, of course, the story is a story in and of itself. But is that also, just like you said, like incorporating a lot of the little knots and the little tidbits of pop culture that you seem to like?
Even the titles on this one, Being Human and Almost Colossus, also are both titles of Hellboy stories. Mike Mignola is like one of my absolute favorite writers. I'm in love with that world. And then I actually found out I had picked out the title for this. Like, I mean, we've been working. It took us 7 years to get this record done, over 7 years. And I've had the title picked out for a real long time. And then I found out, I don't know, are you familiar with the show called Steven Universe?
No.
Have you seen it before?
Yeah, it's kind of an Adventure Time.
It's Adventure Time-ish kind of vibe. It's like it's a kid's show, but it's a kid's show that they managed to like hide very like thoughtful, sweet, like I don't even know how to explain it. Just like very well done, and like the way that it covers certain social issues for kids, to the point that like I've watched that show and I've cried so many times.
Yeah,
it's an incredible show. But the Rebecca Black, is that her name? The girl that made it, the one that wrote it.
Yeah.
She's also a huge Hellboy fan, which I did not know. And the title song from that show is also called Being Human. And I found out that she met Mike Mignola in some capacity, and I guess a bunch of like the costume ideas from that show were like cues that she took from him, from like advice from him. So like, I don't remember where I was going with this. I've lost my train of thought, but yeah.
I love
I
it
like
when
pop
nerds get
shit.
washed away.
I like nerd shit, and
Yeah.
Installation as well as a reference to Lucasfilm stuff.
yeah, 1138.
It's all throughout.
Let's talk a little bit about the music of the record and the music of Shipwreck Karpathos in general. What strikes me of a new record is that it's definitely crunchier. It's a little heavier than the record before, isn't it?
It's also a much angrier record, like content wise. Being human is, or Bring Down the Sky. The first one is much. It's a very hopeful record, and it's kind of about like figuring out your place in the world and like being cool with it. And Being Human is about like losing that and not being sure how to get it back, and just I don't know, all of the bullshit that is life and personal relationships and stuff like that. But I knew from the onset that I wanted it to be heavier. We got a lot more guitars on this one.
Yep.
Plus the addition to the piano, this dude, he doesn't give himself enough credit, but like he rounded out the sound so much of this band, and like just he fills in everything that we were missing, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can totally understand that, because when I listen to it, it's got a lot of crunch. It's got a lot of dynamics, which we'll come to in a moment, but it also got a lot of a well-rounded soundscape, I'd call it. And now, Hank, how does it work? How, you've already mentioned it, you say you don't write too much, but how does it work? David comes to you and says like, oh, I need a C minor passage in here, or how does it work? How do you guys?
Interestingly enough, it's always in C sharp minor for one thing, but he brings us coffee shop versions of the songs that are beautiful on their own, and then I've tried to analyze Shipwreck over the years I've known him. I've known him about 10 years now, and I'm not really a post-rock guy, so this is all kind of alien to me. So I've tried to analyze them.
Not really either anymore.
Well, yeah. I've tried to see what they do, what they expect, what they're looking for, and try to just fill in that. It's been a big challenge for me, coming from a completely different kind of background. But I enjoy the freedom. I enjoy the creativity. I just sort of fill in whatever strange empty space I might find, and there's always something. What's really fun is that it evolves, and I guess I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound arrogant here, but I get so bored with what I play that I just change it up every few weeks. So it always gets a little bit better and better. So it's a living, breathing song as opposed to just a recording that we're just emulating over and over again.
It is funny because live now they're still the same songs, but there are a lot of parts that feel a lot different than they did when we recorded it 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's only getting better.
So Hank, you've already mentioned like that is not your typical background, or Shipwreck is not where you come from. Post-rock is not where you come from. So can you maybe just shortly explain a little bit your own background?
I mean, the British Invaders, I guess, just classic rock and blues, American shit that, very basic stuff, which is why this is such a challenge for me, but it's a welcome challenge. It's made me a better musician, kind of broadened my horizons. But yeah, that's about it.
And he's also one of the only people in the band that actually like knows music, like until very recently, honestly. Because I'm not trained. He was talking about everything being in C sharp. It's because I play in open tunings because I never really learned how to play guitar. I just kind of taught myself to work with like what little I do know how to do. So like I don't ask for anything. I show up with a guitar part. I go, hey, figure this shit out, and then get back to me because I don't have any idea.
Well, if I can speak to that, I don't want to butter your bread too much here, but
I haven't toasted.
So David is kind of more of a composer than a songwriter. The things that we'll get you some toast. The things he can do with simple tools are beyond something that I would ever think is possible, because as you say, I'm kind of, how'd you put it? Knows music. I know the music. I know music, so I'm kind of bound by the rules of music, the rules of music theory. He just sort of does real chaotic shit, and I look at him sideways.
In general, just that's how I live.
I look at him sideways like, this isn't gonna work. And then all of a sudden, 3 guitar parts that are so disjointed and so separated, they come together, and it's like, holy fucking shit. It is the most beautiful shit I've ever heard. Somehow. So knowing music theory doesn't really get you very far.
Well, it's funny because I think what it is that it is chaotic and it doesn't make sense, and then you guys make sense out of it, and you are the ones that make it good. I just go, hey, I figured it out.
It's
maybe beauty lies in chaos in this one, huh?
I think so.
What also struck me, and here we come to dynamics. You've already said it. It's a lot angrier than Bring Down the Sky, but it's at the same time it's not macho man like or tough guy hard or heavy. It's a very, very kind of heavy that if anybody asked me, I would associate with something like Midwestern emo. Is that a compliment
Midwestern
to you?
emo means mono.
Yes.
No. I mean, honestly, I've been joking with these guys for the last couple of years. Like, it's obviously a big evolution from the first record. I tell everybody that it feels like it's the same band, but it feels like the same band that got their shit together and went to college. But that's all of my influence. Like all the post-hardcore emo shit from like 2003 to 2008. That's my jam. You know, Thursday is my favorite band. Envy is my second favorite band. Like, it's all Envy worship. Have you listened to Envy from Japan?
I do, and I had the pleasure of already seeing them live a couple of times.
Oh,
Nice.
They're never going to come here, and I don't blame them. But it's like 80% of what I do is just Envy worship. I mean, honestly, like I love that shit, and I've none of these dudes in the band, with the exception of Robbie and Aaron now. So Aaron is relatively new, and he's on the record, but up until very recently, like Robbie and I were the only ones that have any kind of like punk influence whatsoever. And I've been joking for the last couple of years that I tricked all these guys into being in a punk band.
Well, when
just
you
don't put vocals on it, they're not going to notice.
Yeah, but when you listen to the new record, that kind of makes sense, right? Because yeah, it is punkish in a way, right? When if anybody asks me, I would say like it's somewhere between Sunny Day Real Estate and American football. Because it's not as heavy as, for example, Thursday or Envy. But it is heavy. It is heavy. It is for post rock. It's punk rockish, right? You've already also mentioned the recording, because, and I want to come to that for a moment because I think I saw that Jason of Coastlands recorded the record, and I read somewhere in the liner notes that it was recorded live. So how live must we imagine it? Were you all in a room? Were you on a stage? How much of a live experience was that?
I'd say like 98%.
Yeah.
So
a few things.
Yeah. So Jason, I knew long before we even actually got to it that I wanted Jason to produce this record. Those few years when I was out in Oregon, him and the Coastlands guys were like some of the first friends that I made. And Jason produced, there's an ambient record we did in like 2018, 2019. And much different from our usual stuff. But he produced that. And it's, in my opinion, one of the coolest things that we've ever done. And that's largely because of him. And that's the same case on this record. Like, this record would not be what it is without Jason. But we spent the first day, right, setting up the drums.
Yeah.
We were Russian recording in Bloomington, Indiana. They've got a big live room. So the first day was just setting the drums up pretty much. Did we get to record it all? We did a little bit later in the day, right?
It wasn't anything that we kept. We just got levels that day.
But we basically rented the space out for 4 days and just slept there. They had a little dorm attached. We just wake up in the morning, pop in, record till we can't, go to bed, wake up, do it again. And we had drums on one side, all the guitars and piano on the other side of this massive room. And then all of our amps were in an isolation chamber, just right off the main room. And did we run them all direct? Is that how it worked?
With the guitars?
Yeah.
No, it was all through the amps, and then it got reamped later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so explain that process, because I still don't totally understand how it works.
Explain reamping?
Yeah. I kind of get it.
I'll just say what we did. We recorded all the amps in a booth. All the amps were together in one booth, and then after the fact, we went and reamped them, which is just playing the recorded tracks into, like, basically through those amps and then into another microphone in an isolation chamber, one at a time, just to get the separation that we needed. But yeah, that's something that anybody could Google, really.
Yeah. But it ended up being cool. So what would happen is we would go through, we recorded each song in movements, honestly. So there's a lot of peaks and valleys throughout all of our songs. So we would play up until the first valley, and then we would do the next piece and the next piece, and then we would stitch them together. And we would just go through until we got a take that we were happy with, and then say we had like a really solid take, but like bass flubbed, and then we didn't fix that. It was isolated enough that we could go in and just punch in bass. And there's obviously a lot of post stuff that was done to it after the fact, but it made it so we could like really maintain like a live feel of the performance with the recording, which is how I've wanted to record this band since I started it, and I just haven't been able to really pull it off.
But after the fact, there was a lot of or not a lot of, there were a few things that were added in. Everyone went home. David went from fully clothed at the beginning of the 4-day process to nothing but his underwear at the end of it, playing the, what do you call that instrument? It's not a marimba.
Glockenspiel.
A glockenspiel. Angrily playing a glockenspiel.
Because it was such a simple part. It was such a simple part, and I couldn't fucking do it. It took like an hour and a half. It's on one song. It's on Life Out of Balance at the very end. The whole part is like 45 seconds, and I just couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't, and I don't know why. Oh, it made me psychotic. Yeah, we got it in the end. But yeah, there's a picture of me like losing my shit. Yeah, just like hat backwards in my underwear, just fucking screaming because I can't play this goddamn thing.
I for transparency's sake, for everybody who's watching this, it is 12:38 at night, and I'm gonna go to bed, and I don't want to know if I have bad dreams of that image right now.
I'm just me raging at you. Why can't I play it? God damn.
My wife will probably tell me tomorrow morning, like, you were talking about somebody in underwear. Who was it?
So if you run into me in a dream, just hum that melody to me, and that's how you get me to go. That's how you defeat Dream David.
But the whole process was done in about 3 days, and then David and Jake, the drummer, spent the last day entirely just adding in extra parts, like extra tom hits, and what the hell else did you do?
The big thing that we did that day was the end of Being Human. So that drum part, it's like the last movement of the song, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to where they're bigger than everything by the end. We did two things there. We took the drum track itself, and we actually reamped that. We ran his drum track through.
Which one did you use?
I can't remember.
An amp.
We ran it through one of the amps and blew it way out. So we got the drum track like real fucking distorted and nasty, and it's in there, but it's mixed way down low. And then we got 3 bass drums. Jake's in one corner, I'm in one corner, and then Jason was like right outside the door. And those really, really big hits are just us just beating the hell out of these kick drums with mallets. Most of the last day was just spent kind of like experimenting with that stuff, trying to like find cool drum sounds for it and touch up stuff, just little fixes here and there. And then
who came up with the idea of a harmonica?
Harmonica.
Isn't there it sounds like there is an harmonica,
Curious.
in one of the first few tracks, I had a feeling as if I was listening to Springsteen, like.
There's not a harmonica, but now I want to know which part we're talking about.
Very.
I'll send it to you later. But I felt like, okay, that was very interesting. So it seems as if you are able to plant not only images but also sounds into my head.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the piano. I wonder if it's the way that your distorted chords with the tremolo ring out. I wonder if that's what
could be.
Harmonica.
Could be.
The tremolo on the piano is pretty fucking hard on some of these songs, which I like a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of a machine gun sound. Interesting.
You also have a few guests on the record. Did you record them also in that environment, or did you record their parts later on?
Yeah, so a few things got added on later. So Hank did the trumpets. He's laughing because it took him 9 months to record about 4 minutes of trumpet music.
Yep. I've been playing trumpet since high school.
In his defense, he was basically building a house at the time and had more important things happening. But
was he wearing underwear?
I wasn't here when it happened.
Exclusively. Only underwear, all winter.
Yes. And then Ian Duvall, who we talked about earlier, he's the original bassist for Shipwreck. He is my best friend and heterosexual life partner. I fucking love Ian Duvall so much, and I have since I was like 12. I'm now 37. It's important for me to find something for him to do on every record, even if that's begrudgingly on his end. But
again. Do I have to do something?
Yeah, it's true. But he sequenced all the strings on it, and then our friend Dev bought. Some people might know him, Shipwreck Detective. He's also in a band called Grimoires. He's in a band called Isles. He did all of the synth work that's peppered in throughout the record.
Some of my favorite stuff on the record.
Yeah,
he brilliant.
What my favorite part about it is you all thought it was gonna not fit.
Right, I was skeptical,
and then it was awesome.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Dev is I say it every time I end up talking to anybody about Dev. For real, he's a wizard. He's a goddamn wizard. Like he's so good at just like most of the synth stuff doesn't really pop out immediately at you if you don't know that it's there. But when you find it, like he does such a good job of like finding his space and filling it in those songs to where the point, like I said, you don't really notice it, but if you take it away, you notice it. Like it's such a weird, and then your brother.
Oh yeah.
We had a couple of parts where there were some guitar flubs that we missed when we were in the studio. And so after the fact, his brother actually fixed a couple of those and wrote a couple parts. So he's Life Out of Balance and Lightworker, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two.
Am I missing anybody? Is there any other guest stuff?
Let me think. No,
that's all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason actually. I don't think that he got credited, but Jason he played guitar in a couple of parts.
Did not know that.
Yeah, he beefed up a couple of my layers, like doubled up on what I was doing, and then it's actually cool. There's a moment on the record where there's nothing except for Jason, and it's the very end of Lightworker when everything comes back in, there was there was something in my guitar track. I can't remember what it was, but it just sounded like ass, and we needed to re-record it, and I just told him to do it. Like, it was going to be easier for him just to do it. So just get as close to my tone as you can. And he ended up getting way better than my tone. So for like 3 seconds, like, I all of a sudden sound really good. It's because it's Jason.
Well, but then you have to take him on tour.
That'd be nice.
I've actually we're working on figuring out what tour plans are for 2024 right now. And a couple of our guys aren't just jobs, life, stuff. A couple of our guys aren't going to be able to do it. So we're going to be using fill-ins for a couple of spots. And I've been joking with Jason and Andy, except I'm not really joking, for like a couple months now. Like, hey, you guys should just come tour with us, and then we'll play your stuff, and we can do.
That'd be cool.
a Coastlands Shipwreck tour. Yep. It's just the same band.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it also fits thematically, right?
It does.
Yeah, right.
Coastlands, Shipwrecks.
Coastlands' new song. Have you heard their new track?
I haven't had the time to do that yet. No, but I'll still have to do it.
Yeah,
okay.
It's so for being human, I've been really excited to see people that are familiar with us hear this record, just to kind of see what their reaction is going to kind of be. I think Coastlands kind of has the same thing going on with this new song. It is way out of left field. It is much different than anything they've done before. And it's also incredible. It's so freaking good.
Isn't that also what post-rock should be? Like, always different?
Exactly. I think all of the best bands, in my opinion, are the bands that kind of like make it their own. I love post rock, and I love, like, even the most like dull post rock. I love the crescendo core stuff, but like, I think that the bands that are doing it best right now are the bands that are like not really sticking to the tropes, kind of making it their own thing. Like Pray for Santa, one of my favorite bands doing it right now. Wander, I just got their record home a couple weeks ago. Fucking fun. Shit's real good. Mighty Missoula.
I have to
this year. I finally got
I have to throw in, if we're talking about unusual post rock, I have to throw in a Burial at Sea from the UK. Because that is definitely very different post rock. Well, they also have a new record coming up in a few months, so it's gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good 2024, I think.
Okay, I thought that it had come out, but I had thought that it had already come out, but I couldn't find it, so I thought that I was stupid. So that makes sense. I didn't realize it just wasn't out yet.
I think it's January or February. It's not that far away. So maybe at the time when people hear this, maybe it's already out. If you want to know for sure, check out the Veil of Sound. I have one more question before we come to the infamous quickfire round, and that is musical influences. You've already mentioned Thursday, Envy, so like the Emocore or early post-hardcore side, post-millennium. But are there other bands, projects, artists where you say like, okay, maybe not audibly influencing Shipwreck, but for me as a writer, as a person, as a music aficionado, those are influences?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean, because I always talk about how David Bazan, Pedro the Lion, is like one of my biggest influences, and I do absolutely nothing that sounds like him. But he's just like, he makes me want to be a better songwriter. Like one of those dudes where you're just like, I'm never gonna be that good, but I'm gonna try really fucking hard, kind of thing. Like I think the dude's an absolute genius. But like and like it sounds pretentious every time I say it, I feel like, but like Philip Glass is a huge influence on me. Just like the things that he does with repetition and just like latching onto an idea and just like repeating it over and over and over again until like you get sick of it. But it goes so long that it comes back around. You're like, oh wait, no, hold on, this is tight. Like, sonically we don't sound like him, but like, I've tried to take ideas from it. Yeah. And then everything from like I said, Envy to like Jimmy Eat World. Jimmy Eat World is one of my favorite bands. There are drum parts peppered in like our whole catalog where I've like literally just given Jake Jimmy Eat World tracks and go, play it like this. Make it sound like that.
Yeah, but I mean, like you're a few years younger than me, but I can still remember like the late 90s when there was no way around Jimmy Eat World, and nobody wanted to because, I think up to Futures, and not including that first record that they also deny they did. The albums in between are immaculate.
I like it. I think that they're all great. I think that they have never stopped making relevant music. There's definitely some that are better than others, but like I don't think that they've ever made a bad record personally.
No, that's true. It's just like I think like Clarity, Static Prevails, then the self-titled and Futures. I think like those are milestones. Like they're all Futures, awesomely good.
That groove in the title track is like I've been trying to figure out how to capture that. That's like that. The beginning of that song is pure magic, and like I've been trying to chase that, like, and I never quite get it. I always get stuff that's like kind of adjacent to it, but like someday I'm gonna write the perfect heavy pop riff.
Yep. Jeez.
So I have the last question for you, and that is a very simple one. I mean, like an Indianapolis band. I mean, like, come on, I have to ask about post-festival. And let's imagine the guys, the Frizzles and everybody else, not only invite you to play, which they surely will do, but also they ask you to curate your own stage for one day. And Shipwreck has to play one of the 5 slots on that stage that day. First of all, which slot would you take for your own band, and which 4 other bands would be playing? And it doesn't matter if they are still alive or not. Like dream.
So if we play first, it's going to be easier to watch everybody, right? If we play last, we're probably going to miss whoever plays before us. Okay, so we would play first just so I can see everybody else. I would get Saxon Shore back together at gunpoint.
They bring Coastlands out.
I love Coastlands, but we're talking dream bands here.
Dream bands, okay.
Yes, we're talking. This is like Desert Island, right? Like
yeah.
Like you can't. Okay, so yeah, I would find a way to get Saxon Shore back together. Saxon Shore is like the band that got me into post rock. Unwood Sailor, Envy.
We get one more.
I know. I get one more. Who's the other one? So okay, we got Envy super heavy. Saxon Shore super mellow.
Hootie.
You say Hootie and the Blowfish. Hootie and the Blowfish is the last bitch.
Sorry.
Anathalo. Anathalo is not really post rock. They're kind of like to me they're like an American Sigur Rós. They've not.
That's a good way to say it.
They've not been active for. I think they broke up in like 2006. But they were actually a huge influence on this record. They put out this record called The Canopy Glow that I fell in love with like long after they broke up, honestly. The very, very specifically the horns that are on this record are inspired by a lot of what goes on in that record. So
hopefully they play better than I did, though.
They
Not a tune a lot.
probably would, but like not because there's anything wrong with you, just because they're fucking brilliant, genius,
They
wonderful
play
angels.
normal, like they actually play their instruments. They don't just
Yeah, but they also quit doing this band, and I can't remember. One of the guys went on to form some band that was like massively pop, like top 40 shit.
in sync.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake was the original frontman for it all. No, but
I don't think so.
you know, you got to eat. I get it. It's just it was just some real just kind of trite whatever bullshit, and just like I want to follow back.
Cool.
Hopefully, whoever that man is watching this and is getting angry at me. Sorry. Anyways, what about you?
Okay. Oh no, I can't.
You can't.
No, I'm unplugged. I don't know bands. I don't know shit about fuck.
Hank is, and this is not an exaggeration, Ron Swanson. He's
That was completely unintentional.
So
Damn it.
I don't know if you're familiar with the show Parks and Rec. But he is Ron Swanson, but we also realized not long ago that means that I'm probably Leslie Knope, which I don't love that either.
That's a good pairing though. No, I don't know a lot of bands. I just play the piano and keep my head down.
So, guys, first of all, thanks for all those insights. Thanks for all the laughter. But as I said, nobody gets out of a Veil of Sound interview without having to stand the infamous quickfire round.
I'm apologizing for all of the cop-out answers you're about to get at me, but we'll do it.
Oh, okay. You will have to choose one of two alternatives and give a short explanation for your choice. And you both have to answer them. As long as you're here, you still have to answer them. But let's start with something from for the post-millennials in all of us. Motion City soundtrack versus My Chemical Romance.
Motion City soundtrack.
Oh, MCR.
Real?
Yeah, because I don't know the other one.
I've got this. I'm not kidding. Commit this to memory is in my car right now. I listened to it on the way over here today.
Okay.
MCR is a winner, man. It's timeless. You go back and check out Black Parade. It still holds up. It's got new meaning for me as a 34-year-old.
I'm 85% sure that he's joking.
No, I'm actually dead serious.
Okay.
Sorry.
I couldn't tell. You can never tell with him. I think that they are a fine band that I don't like.
Fair enough.
Sunny Day Real Estate versus American Football.
Oh, fuck.
It's supposed to be a quick answer.
American football. And that's a hard choice. Noodles. Everything's a big cup of noodles and I like it.
Bruce Hornsby. I don't know those two bands. I apologize.
You know American football. I've made you listen to them.
Okay. American football. Because I can identify those two words together.
This is going to be so much fun for Hank to do because I'm not sure if he knows.
Probably not.
All of us. No. One follow-up so that I can build for the next one. Washington, DC or Washington State?
State.
Oh, that's easy. State. For both
I thought
of us.
you would say DC.
Mountains. Trees.
I thought you would say DC
Fuck
because there is something good about DC, and that's music in the 80s and also later on, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
Fugazi versus Minor Threat.
Minor Threat. Minor Threat saying that could flip-flop any given day.
Did you say Benghazi? I don't know the bands. I'm sorry. Pass.
You know Fugazi. You absolutely know Fugazi.
Absolutely do not.
Ian MacKaye.
Nope.
You're full of shit. You have homework after
Okay,
tonight.
fair
There's
enough.
no way. You're.
Send me some albums. Send me some links. I'll listen.
I think after this, it's not gonna be just some. Sonic Youth versus Interpol.
Interpol. I know that I am universally alone in this.
I don't know Interpol.
I fucking hate Sonic Youth. I fucking hate Sonic Youth. I think what's his face? I think Homeboy
Thurston
is an absolute prick of a human being. Like
Thurston Moore's a prick.
Everything that every yes.
Okay. I only know Sonic Youth, so I'm going to say Sonic Youth.
Sonic Youth,
to
and
oppose you.
I also just this is gonna sound pretentious. I think that most people, I'm gonna piss people off. I think most people that like Sonic Youth only like Sonic Youth because everybody likes Sonic Youth.
I know what you mean. For me, I have to disagree.
And I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying that there's not lots of people that like Sonic Youth. I can't. I also am known to be a little bit out of touch. So
More not out of touch. You're more of just a general contrarian. Not liking things for the sake of not.
Here's
liking
the thing. I like you're not wrong, but I want to disagree just for the sake
because
of
you're
just for the sake of the
You're not wrong, but I want to disagree. That should be on a shirt.
But he's
Yeah.
You're a contrarian. You're not wrong, but wonderful.
I know myself.
Yep.
What do you prefer? Touring on the one side versus writing and recording on the other.
Well, the problem is we've never toured before.
See, that's why I'm saying it.
Right now, I'm saying touring because that's all I want to fucking do is get out on the road. We're working on it. We got plans where they're gears moving.
I love recording. I love writing. I love getting hammered and emotional and locked in my music room here and writing something and then just recording it. And by 6 a.m., I've got something beautiful, you know?
And I will say, like, those 4 days that we spent there were like the best days ever.
Yeah.
But I like the work, but it's work.
Sure.
I want to go party though. Like I just want to get loud and get rowdy. Like,
so let's assume you go on tour next year. What would be your preferred after show drink? Wine or beer?
cider. No, whiskey and Coke.
Cola.
Yeah.
It depends on what country we're in. If we're in France, I'm going to drink their wine. If we're in UK, I'm going to drink their beer. If we're in Scotland,
Yeah, because they don't have fucking wine in the UK.
Or if we're in the States, which is where we will probably be.
What do we drink in Germany?
Oh, that depends on the region. Northern Germany, beer. Southern Germany, you can drink both. But, you know, if you want to drink wine in Germany, it's probably going to be from Southern Germany.
Wunderbar.
We're entering the final stretch. November for you.
Sorry, we're really bad at short answers.
No. November, is that for you the month after Halloween or the month before Christmas?
Month after Halloween.
Do you prolong the gothicness of Halloween, or do you easily early start the Christmas season?
Are you a Christmas guy?
I used to be when I was a kid. But I just kind of don't give a shit about the holidays anymore. Like, and I don't mean that in like a kind of way. Just like none of my people are here. Like my family all lives elsewhere, and so like it ends up really just being a day off for me, which is great. Like I love it. But I also I love Halloween, and I have since I was a kid. I actually have a Halloween tree, and I didn't put it up this year, but the last time that I put it up, it was up for like months. Halloween.
It's March. Can you get the tree down?
Nah, man, at this point, just wait.
Yeah, you may as well. You're halfway there.
It's March. Let's just stick it up. So, and in light of David's favorite bands, or like bands that he really likes, two couples. First couple, First Day. Which record to choose? War All the Time or Full Collapse?
I know it's a little bit on the nose, but Full Collapse is a perfect record. I mean, War All the Time is a perfect record too, but like Full Collapse is like a perfect record.
Okay. I'm going to say I'm going to say you're making these band names and album names up. None of these are real. You guys are both fucking with me.
No.
Absolutely. Thursday. You don't have the ability to be my friend without listening to Thursday.
Ooh, be careful. Be careful. I've once said that about social distortions, white light, white heat, white trash, and I've lost a friend over that one, so be careful.
I just mean it's physically not possible because like it's at any given moment it's going to be on somewhere around me. Like you've definitely listened to Thursday.
I do need to expand my horizons, but I do like limiting myself because I'm pulling from an area of music that you are not. So we come together.
His favorite artist is Jack White.
Which one?
One of his favorite artists.
One of my
Jack
favorites.
White. Jack White. Which is nothing wrong with it.
At one point, yeah.
Last one. Oh, okay. If we say Jack White, then at least for Hank to have a real choice. The White Stripes, The Style, or Elephant.
Oh, Style.
Ooh, I want to fuck.
Absolutely. No. Yeah, early Stripes. Dead Leaves in the Dirty Ground, or shit. Well, we're thinking it, yeah. Or Seven Nation Army.
At least.
The Style.
Huh?
The Style. You're gonna like earlier shit.
Yeah, I like Seven Nation Army. I know that you think that I don't like Jack White.
No, I know you like Jack White.
I do. It's just not my go-to.
Well, aware of your opinion on Jack.
I actually listened to White Blood Cells on the way home the other day.
Oh, it's a great record.
Sorry. He's
and very last one. Envy.
Doesn't matter.
Insomniac Doze or The Fallen Crimson.
God. So Insomniac Doze only because
cut it short, man. Cut it short.
I'm sorry, because it's the record, but I think that The Fallen Crimson is actually probably a better record.
Probably.
But Insomniac Doze. Sorry.
Envy's the chick from Scott Pilgrim, right?
We're in a post-rock band. Everything is long-winded. Fucking hate you.
I think Hank will have to do a lot of homework before Christmas comes.
Yeah,
So,
no,
guys, first of all, thanks for all of the time. Thanks for all the details. And now, if you want to say something to our audience, here is your chance.
Hey, sup? I don't know. I'm bad at this. Thanks for listening. See you soon.
Hope so.
Hope to see you soon. Yeah.
So, thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.